Welcome to the Strategic Project Leader, where we help you leverage strategic project management so you can achieve your goals. Now, here's your host, Fola Alabi.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting show on the Strategic Project Leader podcast. Today is going to be one that you have definitely been waiting for a very long time. As you know, on the Strategic Project Leader, we help you as entrepreneurs, business leaders, and project managers to level up and give you the tools and techniques you need to pretty much be the best and help your businesses go up and achieve strategic goals and objectives. On the show today, I have an exceptional leader who has just got a passion for the PMO, but he's one that has been able to transform businesses and organizations. And he's going to be sharing something that's really, really dear to his heart. I know he's tried to uncover this over and over. When we had our initial conversation around leaders and executives, he was so insightful. Today, I've got Americo Pinto, and I want to give you a little bit of background about him because I won't be doing this justice, but I know he's going to come in and he's going to be sharing a bit more about himself as well. When I think about this leader, he's one that has been recognized as the expert in the PMO space for over 2 decades. I'm telling you, and even more. He has got a track record of success. As you know, when it comes to projects, it's really hard now to get successes because a lot of projects are really, really failing these days. But he's done this so well, and he's gone up to actually chair the PMO GA. That's one of the largest professional organizations that dedicates itself to the project management office. With no further ado, I want to bring on stage my great leader who is going to be sharing. And I want to know in the comments as well where you guys actually joining us from today. Good morning and welcome, Mr. Americo Pinto. How are you doing this morning?
Hello,
Oh, it's
Fola.
evening for you.
Yeah. Actually, now it's midday exactly. So,
That's right.
yeah, it's great to be here with you today. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Fantastic. And I want people to know where you're actually joining us from today because I get leaders from all over the world.
Yes, absolutely.
Where are you joining us from today?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Could you repeat?
Okay, I
I
said,
think it
where are you
was.
joining us from today? Is there a disconnect? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
yes. I'm sorry. Actually, today I'm in Brazil, in Rio.
Fantastic. That's a place I said
Yeah.
I definitely need to come visit Rio for sure. Such a wonderful and a beautiful place indeed. So great to have you this afternoon over there in Rio for sure. I just
Absolutely.
want you to give us a quick intro as to your journey and your world into project management. How has your career progressed? And just a quick overview, please.
All right. So, actually, in the last 25 years, I've been working with project management in many different ways. For many years, over than 20 years, I've worked as a consultant in big companies, usually, you know, very complex projects in different companies in different regions, but also as a professor, speaker, author. So I like to do many things at the same time. But in the last 6 years, especially, I changed my life. I could say that. And I've been today I dedicate my time to an organization named PMO Global Alliance, that is a professional organization focused on the PMO audience, PMO leaders, PMO members, PMO executives. It's a smaller audience compared with project management people, but it's very relevant because make make a lot of decisions, in terms of methodologies, tools, and processes, and also they are the right hand of many executives. So this is what I do today. The idea is that we can develop the PMOs and PMO people worldwide. So that's what I'm doing exactly now, right? Uh, that's it.
Fantastic. I think it's really important for us to understand what the PMO actually means. For people who are listening to us who wonder, like, I am a project manager, I execute on projects, but what is a PMO? I want you to understand that PMO is actually a governing body that oversees projects that do governance, reporting, and depending on what the type of PMO actually is, it could be more strategic or it could be really, really tactical, where they just work really closely with the PMs and report on that. And a lot of the time, being a project manager, a logical step up could actually be like managing a PMO as well. So that's definitely a great point. But today's topic is about cracking the code. As we
Absolutely.
know, leadership is almost everything because when it comes to executing on projects, we need people to get things done. But to get things done, we need executive support. And from the initiation of every project, executives are definitely involved from the start. And today we want to uncover, what do executive leaders really want? And
Mhm.
how can we influence them to get things done? So, my great leader, Mr. Americo, I want to know, when it comes to executive leadership, the number one question today is, what do they really want?
Perfect. Well, that's a great question. And when we say uncover, I think it's the perfect word because there is those things that people usually say about, about executives, and there are many things that people, they know, they feel, but they don't necessarily say. The word, the real life, right, is sometimes is a little different than the theory, the best practices. We know that. The point is, when we talk about executives, it's very important to understand that they are a group of people, but they are totally different, in many different ways, even in the same company. So the first point that I believe that we should consider is the fact that they are people. And this way, they have many differences that will affect the way that we are dealing with them, right? And of course, it will also affect what they expect. Because, for example, more mature executives in many different ways. And now I'm touching the point of project management because I usually say that someone that is in the executive level, of course, it's someone that is really experienced in the business, but sometimes not really mature in terms of project management. And this is something that make a big difference because depending on the way that you are dealing with these people, actually their expectations will be different because their understanding about this word is different. So I could tell you that an answer about what they expect, there is no one answer. And if you believe there is one, probably you have many problems because when you try to treat them as if they are just one group, the failure will be waiting for you. So they want to have their problems solved in some way. They want support, they want partners to help them to get their objectives, but the way that it happens will be different from one executive to the other one.
Definitely, as we know, our executive leaders are our stakeholders. And when we think about stakeholders, stakeholders are anyone that could be affected by the outcome or the decisions on your projects. That's the outcome of what you're
Absolutely.
trying to create. And being executive leaders, a lot of the time they see it as project sponsors. They are the ones signing off on the budgets. They are the ones having to ensure that the overall goal and objectives definitely met. They're going to release the funds. And as America has rightly said, right, depending on the executive, depending on the type of projects, the needs may actually vary. But 9 times out of 10, executive leaders definitely want us to come together and achieve that goal that we've set out to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and how we get there may actually vary, but the underlying principle is that everyone wants to be successful. Everyone wants an organization that is definitely profitable, that's socially responsible, there's an organization that
Mhm.
definitely achieves goals and objectives. So when we think about that, and we know that our stakeholders and our senior leaders definitely want the goals that we want, how can project managers get senior leaders, senior executives to come on board when it comes to the ideas that they have on their projects? And I'll give an example. For instance, if a project has been set and maybe they need extra funding, right? And it's just like pulling teeth. You've sat at meetings and you feel that the budget needs to change. How can we do this? How can project managers influence senior leaders to get the outcomes that they want?
Right, perfect. Well, the point is, it's not difficult for anyone to say what is expected that a senior executive should want, right? So, of course, there are many books, articles, people saying that, what companies should do. And of course, executives should be aligned with that. The point is, because of my work, to be very honest, since I left consulting, I became a little more committed with what really happens in the real world. Because sometimes we know what should happen, but it doesn't mean that it's what really happened, right? So the point is, what can we do about that? And that's exactly what you asked. And what can we do about that? Because in theory, we know that they should be concerned about many topics, very strategic, but sometimes these people, they have other needs, right? That we sometimes we see and say, come on, actually you should be concerned about these things, but they are not. And why does it happen? And what can we do? 2 points. It happens again because of a lack of maturity. So it's not because there is an executive person that this person is mature in all aspects possible. It's obvious. I know it's a little frustrating because they can't see the value of what you are offering. However, it's part of the life. And our role is something a little different what many people try to do. Sometimes we try to push what we believe that is the best practice, is the best way possible to get results. We try to push them those solutions, those medicines for pains that they don't feel that they have. You know what I mean? And it's very difficult to see value in taking a medicine when you say, "Come on, that's not what I'm. That's not my problem, right? You are saying that it's good, but I don't have any headache, right? So why are you giving me a great medicine for headache?" So it happens because they don't know that they don't know, right? So we have to move them to the next stage of wisdom, is when you know that you don't know. So the point is, as experts in project management or PMOs, part of our role is create awareness, is help them to mature in those topics that they are not experts and they are not supposed to be. So many times. So instead of just focusing on the technical aspects and try to bring, all the best things that there isn't that we can find in the business world, we have to bring those medicines that can really heal the current pains and work with them to make them feel they perceive those needs that they can't see today. It takes time, it takes patience, persistence. Sometimes it's a little frustrating, but it's a change, it's a transformation, an individual transformation. And that's something that we have to be aware of, in my point of view. So again, if you treat executives not as executives but as people, and of course they are not perfect, they don't know everything, we can have better results because we can speak their language, a language that they can understand, and they will see the value of what you are doing.
I love the piece where you said they don't know what they don't know. And in order to get leaders to get to that point where you kind of say, yes, I know you guys are proficient with your role, but there's some areas that you may need guidance on. Being able to like push that information in a way that it doesn't become, degradable and stuff, and people kind of feel a little bit undermined, is it's pretty critical. So there is a skill set you probably need to be able to get information over, because I feel that there may be a competency gap, especially when it comes to like the sponsors and coming down to project management, right? A PM knows I need to just deliver this project on time, on budget, and to quality. But there's some other strategic areas. But when I remember Dr. Said said this during the last episode when he spoke about competency based collaboration, which is pretty interesting. And he was talking about when you want to collaborate, when you want to get things done from another party, that person needs to be competent to understand what you're currently doing and why you need a certain particular probably like outcome or contribution. Because until they really understand that, it's definitely going to be hard for them to say, oh, now I know why this is on the critical path, right? And why we definitely need to throw in X amount of resources. But from an executive level form of leadership, they come in and give that overall oversight. How can we really get
Absolutely.
them to like take a different turn when it's definitely needed, especially when they don't see things from that lens? Because I know you've done this over your career, and there are young professionals, even seasoned ones, that kind of know we want to influence outcome. But what steps can they take today to say, yes, I know that my project needs XYZ. I need to get my executives on board. These are the steps I need to take. What can they do from today?
Right. So the most important point is that those things, as experts in project manager management, right? So what make our eyes bright is not exactly what attract this group of people, right? For example, we can talk hours about a great methodology. They don't care about it, right? We can speak many great things about, how we could create a training program on project management. They really don't expect it. What they want, for example, is that, okay, our projects are being delivered, they are connected with the strategy, those things that we are promising in terms of strategic objectives, they will be delivered at the end of the year. When we need someone with competences in project management, we have them and we can assign them easily. See, all these things, they are not things that you have to do. They are the results of what you are doing, right? So, as a project manager or as a PMO leader, actually, you will provide again many medicines, right, to heal this pains, these needs, and that's exactly what I try to say when I mention the language of our executives, right? That's what really attract them. And there are two things that you have to keep in your mind. Uh, there is something that I usually say that is value as beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? So the point is, value will be perceived in different ways by different people. And the point is, if you are trying to do something and they can't see the value of what you are doing, there are two options. Option number one, you are doing something that is generating some kind of value, but it's not what they expect. So again, it's the right medicine. I'm sorry, the great medicine for the wrong, the wrong disease, right? And there is a second possibility. The second possibility is, yes, you are doing what you are supposed to do. And they can't see the value again because of a lack of maturity. If you can't understand the difference between these two things, it means that you will focus too much on the technical side of your work because you believe that those things are needed. And sometimes you just overestimate what you are doing. It's like giving a Ferrari for someone that just need economy car, right? And why? Oh, because a book say that, or because someone told me that we have to do that, but you never think if it's really required for our situation. And the second possibility is what I said: you are pushing something that is needed, but they can't see the value, and they see that as bureaucracy, as something that is over control, for example, just because they don't know that they don't know. So the first point is your commitment should be with the results, not with what you were doing. Methodologies, tools, everything, of course, they are important, but they are not the end, right? That's why you don't need to believe that there is an ideal approach, an ideal methodology, an ideal tool. Forget about it, because you should mix all these possibilities to deliver results, to deliver value that can be perceived. So for someone that is starting in project management or PMOs, or maybe experienced people but that feel very frustrated, for example, oh, I'm doing something incredible, and nobody see the value of what I'm doing. That's the point.
So pretty much we have to focus on value. I think that's like the underlining thread I can see across the board. And values, you said, it's different. It's based on the eyes of the beholder, right? It could be subjective, but overall, when we think about leaders and executives and the value that projects and product teams are trying to create, it has to be one that I just love the what and Sonia actually just said about that ties back to the business case. What exactly is it has the business case outlined to say we should achieve X and these are going to be the benefits we're going to get at the end of the day? We need to tie back to that. But again, we know in the real world, because I love getting real on this particular podcast, is like we want to look at what's really happening on day to day. What the textbook says is different from what happens in real life. When PMs and where business leaders get stuck and that they cannot really move ahead because of decision making, they're like frustrated and they feel I've got so many projects and I think I don't have executive leadership on board. And I'm like, my project is probably not a top priority as well. How can they really like manage all of that? How, I know winning stakeholders is actually critical, but one piece there is about the common mistakes and common pitfall. What would you say are the common mistakes that PMs may be making, or PMO leaders that make our executives pretty much almost turn their backs on their projects? What are the pitfalls? What are those mistakes that you've seen over
Okay.
the years?
The first one is treat all executives as if they are just one group with the same needs, the same perception, the same maturity. It's a big mistake. The
Mm,
executive group is small usually, right? We have maybe 5, 10 people, right? So you have space to take care of each one
each
individually,
of them.
right? There will be people that will support you because they are
Yeah.
more mature. There are some people that will be big problems for you, and you cannot abandon them, right? They are like babies. If you don't feed them, they will not become teenagers or adults. You know what I'm saying? So actually, you need to feed them and understand. They will cry. They will, you know what I mean? That's it. It's part of the evolution of anyone, even in the professional life, right? So this individual approach is something that I believe makes a very, very big difference. So sometimes we are very, how can I say, we understand that in project management, things should work like the methodologies, the best practices say, right? So let me give you a great example. Every PMO should have a sponsor, of course, right? For us, the role of a sponsor is something very clear. But do you really believe that every executive in your company has exactly the same competence to be a good sponsor? So we talk a lot about developing competences for project managers. But what about the competences required for a sponsor? They are totally different. It's not about
Mm,
project management anymore. It's about supporting projects, and possibly many of them they don't know exactly what to do. You know what I mean? And they will never tell you that. That's the problem, right? Because of course they are supposed to know. They are executives. So there is a discipline that I believe should be created when we are dealing
mm,
with executives. It's ego management, right? Because it's part of the game. These guys, they are in a position that it's very difficult for them to absorb things, sometimes not exactly because they don't want, but because in their position they are supposed to know, right? So if you can be a little psychologist, it can help you to understand what's happening, with this specific group. So they have a great potential. They are executives. They are not. It's not a coincidence that they are in that positions, but it doesn't mean that they don't need us, right? They need us in many different ways. So again, this commitment with people with results helps a lot more than just believe that the technical side of all this thing is what really values, really worth it, So that's my point of view.
Yeah, and that's good. I just also want to just talk about ego management. That's like really critical. We're talking about people who are on the first floor, and then they've gone up their career. They've done a lot of great stuff as well. And I think ego is something that's really there. We don't really talk about this. We may not talk about this all the time. How can we really manage this? And I love the point where you said you need to look at them as babies, right? Individually, you have pretty much a communication management plan with, weights tailored to meet every specific stakeholder. One particular executive may love the one-to-one connection meetings to say, this is kind of where we're at, this is where things are going. Or another one might need you to take them out for lunch where it's a lot more relaxed, then you can actually get things done. Understanding the actual stakeholders, understanding how they want to be communicated, I think with this, it's actually critical. What have you found that has been like a game changer for you? Has it been like a difficult executive that you were able to win over, and how did you do it?
Yes. That's a very interesting point. I've already met top executives in my life, for example, when I was a consultant, that their first reaction was like, I hate consultants, and I understand why sometimes, because actually the point is, it's not only about what they expect from you, but it's also about what you have to give to them, right? So again, if you don't have a broader understanding about what's happening, it's very possible that you try to repeat the same formula, the same, cake recipe, in every situation, and it doesn't work. And again, when I mention babies, right, it bring us back to that idea of perception of value. Because imagine, I have a baby and I have an adult, a 2 years old baby and an adult, right? And I have here two options to give them as a gift. I have a real Ferrari, so I have the keys of a real Ferrari, and I have a toy, a Ferrari, a remote control toy, right? If I offer these
Wait,
two options to
Americo,
the adult, yeah,
it seems like you love Ferraris. Am I gonna get one at the end of the show?
yes, I hope I can have one day. So, if you offer the Ferrari, real Ferrari to them, of course the adult will say, okay, I want the keys, right? Because the adult can see the value. The adult is more mature. But if you offer them to the child, they are very smart today, but let's suppose that this one, right, is a standard child. The child will say, I want a toy. And everyone knows that a Ferrari has much more value. However, the baby can't see that, right? So what can you do? You can just give the Ferrari and let the child, hit a wall, in the street, or understand that, okay, it's time for a toy. The toy cannot bring everything that we expect and that this organization needs, but that's what the child can absorb. So when we speak with these people, understanding them, again, we can align the language, right? So we can speak the same language in a way that will not put ourselves in a position that we are trying to push something that they are supposed to know, but they can't see why it's really useful. How many of us already heard something like that? Oh, do you believe that you can teach me how I should do my work, right? Yeah, no, of course, no. But I can help in many different ways, because that there is no one that knows everything. Even the best executive in the world, right? So that's the point. We need to understand a little better this relationship. It's not only about numbers. It's not only about reports. It's not only about technical information. If you want to create a real link, a trust-based relationship with these people, you need to understand them, right? Respect them in many different ways, right? That's the point, I think.
No, I think that's absolutely critical because at the end of the day, we can only strive to do things the way things should be done, and you work on influencing people around us. But when it comes to senior leaders as well, every single day we need to try and create a space where there's value. But I love the fact that, because when I think about my career for the past 2 decades as well, a key element that has really helped is always just staying true and focused to what value really is, right? We think about the business case. The business case has been set to deliver X amount, be it a transformation or what that is, and sticking to that and help making sure that senior leaders kind of see that you are focusing on that value to help the organization probably move forward, to reposition us to be leaders within the industry. And when you're actually able to speak that language to them, a lot of the time they understand, because as long as we're sticking to this is the why, right? The business case has said we need to deliver this amount of transformation and it's going to be done within this particular time. And you come in and you say, right, just let me know, how can I help, right? Always come in as the person to say, there's no other motives here. I am just here to come in and lend a helping hand. It doesn't matter what's needed. Because I always tell like PMs and I say, it doesn't matter what's in your job description. When you're brought in, be it you're a PMO director, be you a PMO, a project manager, and you know that you've got a portfolio of what needs to be done, everything that comes within that is within your area of remit. You need to work to ensure your team is successful. So working with your leaders to get to that point where they see value, as you've actually said, Americo, is extremely important. And they may not even really get what needs to happen because they don't know the how. They just want to see that transformation, but giving it to them like bite size, where they see, okay, these are the steps, and having that strategic roadmap, and they can actually feel and say, oh yeah, this is kind of where we are at this month. In the next 6 months, we want to get to a particular point. So it's easy for them to also follow because they're also humans, right? But speaking the
Absolutely.
language, as you said, they don't want to come and know like this 5 million risker on the risk log, but they want to know what are those critical aspects of it that could totally derail the projects. What's on the critical part that they need to help take over the plate of the PM and say, how can we fix this? Do you need more funds, or do we need to get someone else to do that? But speaking the language of the business, I think is
Yeah.
also a gap that PMs and even some other business mid-level managers don't actually understand, right? They say, I was just brought in to do XYZ, and they're going to focus on just that particular piece rather than thinking about what is this overall bigger picture? What is the 5 year goal, even the 10 year goal of this organization? And how can I make sure that my projects and my portfolio helps move the needle for them? And you may have other executives that have got different motives. That's okay. But as long as we come together and position value, as long as we understand the why, right? The reason behind what we're doing, it's always going to be almost, if I don't want to use the sheet show. But the fact is that a lot of people just struggle. What would you
Yeah.
say, America, would be like the overall? We've spoken about value, we've spoken about, giving them tools, but I want to just also address just one piece around maybe competency gap. When a PM or a business manager sees that there is a gap, they feel that maybe an executive leader needs a bit of knowledge and understanding around a particular subject, and that is pretty much hampering their portfolio. How can they get that information across in a way that they obviously don't get fired?
Yes, it's true. It's true. So this is exactly what I call ego management, right? Because actually, it's not something easy. For example, implement and and spread a project management methodology. It's something. I'm not saying that it's easy, but compared with something that you are trying to push upwards, it's much more difficult, right? So, for example, implementing portfolio management is much more complex than project management. And why? Because the audience is different, right? So, project managers, possibly they are your peers, right? But portfolio management, you are talking with the top leaders. So, they don't have a lot of time, they don't have a lot of patience, right? And there are 2 points that I believe that are important to understand how this step by step can happen, right, in a successful way. The point I talked a lot about identifying different people, different needs. Great, we know about that. But the point is, there is something that I learned in my years as a consultant, right? Sometimes we know what should be done, but we have to to make these things. We have to sometimes to present these things in a way that if we need to step back, we will not lose our credibility, right? And I'm not saying that it's fair that we lose our credibility, but because of some lack of understanding, it happens. That's the guy that I told you that said, I hate consultants, maybe, right? So the point is, sometimes we push too much. And because of this lack of capacity of absorbing things, we just fail, and there is nothing else we can do because a trauma is created, right? So we have a land totally destroyed. Maybe we'll be able to reborn this initiative later with a new name, possibly. So it happens a lot with PMOs, by the way. But the point is a real example. Uh, there are some people that they say, okay, let's start with project portfolio management. It's needed for every company, right? We have to select projects, align it with the strategy. We know what to do. And in theory, if you ask any executive, they will say, yes, of course, I agree. It's needed. So you start a process. And when you start a process, you miss the point. And why? Because you 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 share a message that what they are doing today is wrong. It's not the right way of selecting projects. And that's when that problem happens. They will say, come on, who do you think that you are, right? I'm doing that in the last 20 years. I'm here, I'm the executive, our company is big, and now you will say that I don't know how to. Maybe they will not tell you so directly, but that's what they will think. So the
Mm.
point is, step by step means, okay, I'm going to try something, but if I need to step back, I can do that. How can we translate that in a real action? Instead of, for example, offering those criteria, the criteria that you believe that is the best practice to select projects, instead of it, you just create a process that in the first year will try to translate the way that they make a decision. Oh, but they make a decision based on a criteria that is not the right one. It's okay, because if at the end of the day, if you use a different set of criteria and the result is different from what they believe that should be the right one, it's finished. They will say it doesn't work. And why? Because it's the first time. They are not prepared yet. So you just came with something that is the best practice, and they just say, okay, well, the result is saying that my decisions are wrong. So ego management, right? And maybe they are. Maybe they are not. In fact, you cannot say that because you are starting this process. So in the first movement, you should just try to organize the way that they are making a decision. And at the end of the day, if what you are doing can be exactly like what they could do by themselves without nothing, It's great, right? Because next time they will say, all right, that thing really, really works. So now you can bring something new. You can say, okay, let's try to see what happens if we bring this criterion or this something, something different. Let's see what happens. Oops, there is something different. And now you can make it explicit, and they have an option. They can keep what, in their point of view, works, or they can say, interesting, and they will think about that. So maybe next time they will say, okay, please, could you add that point again, that criteria again,
Options.
because you
That's
know what I'm
right.
saying? Because it's something that takes time. You can't push too much. You have to keep your credibility and keep things alive, because it takes time, especially portfolio. If you think the process, the entire process of portfolio management, from the design to benefit management, it took at least 1 year. It's not like project management that you have projects starting and ending every day. So it takes time to mature this process. So this is a real example that I can share with you about what means respect all these aspects that we are discussing.
Fantastic. That just means it's time for Project Lifestyle. My great leader, America, was just talking about credibility. What does that really mean? At the end of the day, a lot of the times we think about executive leaders and what they really want. It takes building trust, building credibility. And how does that come? From all of what you've actually achieved in the past. On Project Lifestyle, this segment today, I want to talk about you as the major executive of your life's project. Have you thought about that? That in order to achieve anything, it starts with you. And I want us to touch on how can you uncover your zone of genius, because at the end of the day, for you to show up and be the best, for you to become the number one executive in your life, of course, you have to consider all the other stakeholders around you, like your family, your spouse, that. But think about you. I want you to uncover your inner genius. And what does that mean? It comes with a lot of work, self discovery, exploration, and experimentation. But I want you to look at this from a different perspective. Great minds have always said that we should start with the end in mind. In order to become the best executive of your life's project, I want you to think about what has been the best accomplishment you've ever achieved in your career and in your life. Think about that for a moment. And how can we go back and leverage our lessons learned? As project leaders, right, we talk about lessons learned. In order to uncover all of those great things that you've done, we're going to do some reverse engineering. You're going to go back and identify what those achievements have been from the past, take inventory of your accomplishments, both big and small, and from all areas of your life. I want you to analyze the process. What steps took you to achieve that success? What actions did you take? What strategies did you use? And what obstacles did you have to overcome as well? Think about that for a moment. And then identify what skills and qualities did you leverage to overcome the challenges, to build up on the strategy. So we're going backward here. You're going to analyze that and identify what risk and the skills, what were the ingredients there? What were the medicine that you had to take, right, when obstacles came? And what, problem solving skills did you leverage? What communication skills, what leadership skills as well did you take? And then you need to look for patterns. Look for patterns in the skills and the qualities and identify what exactly were those events that happened. How did you resolve them? How did you build, great communication skills, even when things were complex? You're looking backwards now. Look for those patterns, and then you can pretty much experiment and refine. So we are trying to uncover your zone of genius here as an executive of your life. And we have gone back to identify what have you been great at through your career, because you're going to show up in the workplace as the subject matter expert, as the leader who has the onions to become that senior leader and who has the path to senior executive leadership. It means that you have to be credible. It means that you have to have something that senior leaders want. You have to be able to prioritize. You have to be able to give them something that seems, yes, I want to talk to John. I want to talk to James. I want to talk to Layla because she's got it. In following these steps, I hope that by reverse engineering your achievements, you can actually uncover your zone of genius. It's been so great today. I just wanted to come back to Mr. America. We were just talking about uncovering our zone of genius as we think about being executives of our life. If you've got anything else to add to what I've actually just said.
Very no, it's really really nice this discussion. The I'm going to share with you something that I really believe in it. The point is, first of all, the life of an executive, there is a lot of glamour, but it's a very hard life in many
Oh
different
my
ways, right? Actually, there are many executive positions that I would not to be there, in my life if I could, because it's really complicated depending on where you are, right? Different companies, different places, different cultures. It's really hard. There is something that I learned years ago, that there are two things that are very important to there are one thing that you have to understand and two things that you have to do. The first thing that you have to understand is about that you will be useful in any position, including the executive position, and some specific places, some specific organizations with some specific group of people. So, okay, you are an executive, but you will not be the ideal executive in any place. It doesn't exist. And why? Because you are you, right? So you have to you can adapt, but we come to the first point. You should be yourself, right? So you can adapt, but there is a limit, right? You cannot play, something that you are not. You are not. It doesn't represent you. And I can say that very, very easily because I didn't tell you that, but in the beginning of my career, from the really beginning, 16 years old to 24 years old, what I what was my job was totally something totally different. I was a professional actor. So actually, yeah. So actually, if I need to play, I can do that, right? But it's not sustainable, right? It's not sustainable. That's what I am, right? And I had an experience a few years ago when I started my international career, right? I said, okay, let's try something bigger, right? And I'm Brazilian. I have a dual citizenship. I'm Portuguese too. But anyway, actually, I spend most of my time in Brazil, and Latins, we have our style, right? So, I remember that when I was abroad, I tried, for example, speaking at conferences. I tried to behave in a different way, a little more, like, for example, we move our hands too much, right? And smile all the time, and actually, I try to keep a different style, right? In many different ways, as a consultant, as a speaker, as a professor, and and I said, come on, that's not exactly me, And when I said I give up, right? I will not do it anymore. So I said, okay, that's what I am. I'm passionate. I speak a lot. I move too much, right? And that's it. And it means that there will be people that will love it, and there will be
Yeah.
people that will feel that I'm a fool. And it's okay, right? So let's focus on those people that love me, right? And after that, things really became much easier for me. And that's what happens when you are growing in your career and taking executive roles, because sometimes you feel that you are in a place that it's not your place, because that's not what you are. And you can adapt. Yes, you should adapt, especially because you have to empathize, right? So it's not only about you, it's about those people that are around you, your customers, your peers. You have to adapt, you have to be flexible, but there is a limit, right?
Mm.
You should be yourself. So that's something that helps a lot. I know that it's not something easy, because sometimes that's the role that I have available, right? That's the opportunity. I will just say, no, I give up. But in the long term, it's something that make a big difference in building credibility, reputation, because people feel that you are that that crazy person maybe, right? And it's okay. It's what you want. You are, and they can like it or not, but people that will be around you really admire you in some way, and that's something very important when you are building reputation and credibility. So I think it's something interesting.
I know, I absolutely love that. And when we even talked about, we look at the project lifestyle we spoke about, right? As you show up as a leader, as a PM, as an executive every single day, you just hit it. Not everyone will definitely love you, no matter what you do, no matter how much you learn, no matter how much you show up. But the key there is just to ensure that you're always authentic. You keep learning. Show up as the best version of yourself every day.
Absolutely, yeah.
Give your best, be the best one that people want to be around, and just live your life forever because life is short, right? At the end of the day, right, like you could strive and please everyone, and then you come back, you're soul being, and you're not really living life to the fullest. Because here we are on the podcast. We want you to be equipped to not just be successful at work, but also to be successful at home. Take that mindset and become your number one best self. I just want to say thank you so much. We've learned so much. We've spoken about value, credibility, trust, building yourself. Oh, Dr. Americo. Oh my goodness. I already gave you that. I know you're doing your PhD. I don't know when that's actually going to be live. But I probably am the first to already call you doctor. So it's already in order. I want to say thank you so much for being here today. It's been a great pleasure. As you know, you can obviously find everything, all things PMO on the website, PMOGA. But say anything you find out what you want people to know, specifically how they can connect with you, how they can learn more about what you do and be part of your work.
Sure, sure. So I invite everyone that have some interest in the PMO topic to join our community, PMO Global Alliance. You can find me easily in LinkedIn, for example. Just try Americo Pinto. There is only me, I think, right? So you can find me very easily. Uh, I and always I'm very open, to interact with everyone and collaborate. I think that the future is collaboration, right? So it's impossible to be successful alone. It's really rare. So we need to. I usually say that life is tough if we have when we have many friends. Imagine when we have enemies, right? So we have to make friends, and people that trust you and they know that they can count on you, and in a certain way you can count on them also. So collaboration is the key. I really believe on that, and I really appreciate this time with you, Fola, I would like to thank also everyone that are with us today. I cannot. I didn't know how to send messages, but I'm reading all the messages. I saw Sunil, a great reference. Someone that I admire. Fahad is a great friend for many years. So thank you very much, all of you that came. I feel honored with your presence here today.
Well, we want to say thank you. We've got great people to join. Oh my goodness, Fahad is just awesome. I told him I cannot wait to come
Yeah,
over to Niger and look at the nice sunset. He has the pictures. Listen to his TikTok videos. He's just an awesome leader. I see and Sonil as well. He's actually been here. I just told him he has to be on the podcast. Goodness, Joseph, so many great people actually joined. We want to say thank you. But what I always make really clear is when you see or you hear something great, do not keep it to yourself. Americo Pinto just said, right, you need to make more friends, but the way to do it is for us building together. Let us build together. Share this as well with a friend. Share this with a colleague. Even your boss. They may just need to hear this. And this could be transformational as well to them. And tag us and let us know that you've actually shared. I want you to definitely let us know one key takeaway that you are going to be taking away when it comes to this actual session we've had today. So share that in the comments, and definitely again, there's going to be a chance for you to be featured on our show going forward. I want to say thank you so much to everyone who has been here today, who has shared a comment, who has actually joined. And remember, as I always say, that you are your life's project manager. Make your life's project count. Take action today. Invest in yourself. The way you're here today, it's definitely one, but I want you to actually take action. Take the steps, take the actions that we've learned today, and do something about it. That is the game changer. I want to say thank you. But remember, same time next week, we're going to be here sharing. We're going to be here giving you tools and strategies as well that will help you. If you want to find out more about what I do, go to folaalabi.com and you can see more and more of all this great stuff. I just want to say thank you so much for everyone. It's been a great pleasure. I cannot even thank everyone enough. But without any further ado, I want you to enjoy the rest of your weekend and have yourself a good one.